My motorbike is currently on a ship on its way to Malaysia. Half a year ago I had no idea how to arrange such a thing. I had no idea about the procedures, and I especially had no idea about the final price. Now we have everything sorted out and the bikes are finally on their way around the world to Malaysia. Let's talk about how we arranged everything, how we packed the bikes, and of course the final price we ended up paying. With a quick research, we quickly found out that shipping the bikes by boat was cheaper and more convenient for us than shipping by air. We ended up with two different solutions for shipping on a boat. Without knowing anything about shipment at all, I just started researching for companies shipping motorbikes, and I just started firing emails at them one by one. Some of the companies started replying, came up with estimated prices and time frames, and which was very nice, and everyone was actually very helpful. In the meantime, we tried to plan everything as much as possible, and we got some shipment boxes from new Transalt bikes. Took a day out to make a small test of how to fit the bikes into these Transalt boxes. We had to take the front wheel off, we had to take the windscreen off, and we had to do some adjustments to the bike. It was a bit of work, but it worked, and the bikes fit perfectly into the cages. The shipping guy I ended up talking to was located in France. He was quick to reply, very helpful, and also he clearly knew what he was talking about. But we were preferring a more local company, at least a more local agency, to help us, because it's easier with the language and it was just easier for us to sort it out that way. So instead we reached out to the shipping company Blue Water, who was also very helpful and quickly started just arranging everything. After some back and forth talks, and one of our friends who have decided to join us on the trip, we were suddenly 3 bikes, and we realized it was easier for us to get our own private container, which meant we didn't have to pack the bikes into the shipping boxes, and we didn't have to take the front wheel off and the windscreen off, which would save us a lot of time, both in Denmark during the packing, but especially on the harbor at Kuala Lumpur. With our own container, we could just roll the bikes in, strap them securely of course, and then roll them out in Malaysia. No need to take the front wheels off, and no need to worry about how to get rid of the crates and all the metal from the boxes. From Denmark to Malaysia takes approximately 2 months. We decided to ship with a buffer of 2 weeks, which hopefully mean that we don't have to wait for the bikes at the harbor in Kuala Lumpur. Of course we had to pay extra for the storage, which adds to the total price. It's a good trade-off instead of maybe wasting 2 weeks waiting for the bikes to arrive because of something happened on the sea. For many, including myself, I think the most scary task is the customs clearance in the destination harbor. How to handle the customs, what about all the documents, will I get my motorbike back? In our case, Blue Water handles everything. Around 4 weeks before the shipment date, Blue Water requested our documents. A scan of our passport of course, and our carnet de passage documents. Malaysia is a carnet de passage country, so other countries have different temporary customs documents, so it's important of course to research what kind of document you will need. We delivered the carnet de passage documents to Blue Water, who have shipped them by FedEx to the agent in Malaysia. Then he can stamp the physical documents before the motorbikes arrives, and hopefully save some time. A few weeks later, a container arrived where we had agreed to pack the bikes. The funny story here is that I live in China, so I wasn't there. I received a lot of video when my 2 riding buddies and our fathers packed the bikes. Let's talk about how we prepared the bikes, and then let's watch how they secured the bikes into the container. In the beginning, when arranging this whole shipment, we were also curious about what do we need to do to the bikes in order to ship them. And there is a lot of confusion about what to do and what not to do when shipping a motorbike. There is of course different rules for shipping by air and shipping by boat. So what we are talking about here is shipping by boat. And also different companies have different requirements for what to do to the bikes when shipping them. So just make sure to ask your shipping company or your agent what exactly to do, so you don't get confused of anything from Facebook or from otherwhere on the internet. We asked our agent and he said, disconnect the batteries, make sure the fuel tanks are as empty as possible. You can leave all other fluids in the bikes. In the container together with our bikes, we have our side panniers, we have our helmets, our boots. We made sure to strap everything to the bikes, so whenever anyone have to empty the container, they just roll out the bikes, and we are sure that they will get everything and we will not forget anything anywhere. We did not have to do any declarations about what was in the container.
hernede i varmen.
Now let's look at the final price for this shipment of 3 motorbikes in a private container. First is the handling of the carnet de passage documents. There's first a small fee of handling in Denmark, then there is a fee shipping it and handling it in Malaysia. Then there is 2 fees, I don't know what it is. Luckily it's not that expensive. Insurance of the bikes, which I think is very important. The shipping company Maersk just dropped a lot of containers just north of the Danish coast, so we decided not to take any risks. Then we have the pickup in Denmark, where a truck came to our agreed destination, left the truck on Friday and picked it up on Monday, and in the meantime we packed the bikes. And then the ocean flight itself from Denmark to Malaysia. We had to pay a little extra because of the situation at the Red Sea, so now I think the boat will go south of Africa, which is a bit longer and takes a bit more time. And then finally the handling and the storage of the bikes at the Klang Harbour in Kuala Lumpur. So in total we have paid 5,936 euros, which is just around 2,000 euros per bike, shipped in a private container, including everything, pickup and delivery at the Klang Harbour, and all the paperwork and all the customs clearance. From our initial talk with the other shipping companies and also Blue Water before we arranged the private container, we know that the price is approximately the same for a private container for our 3 bikes per bike, and the price for shipping them individually in crates together with other stuff in a non-private container. So if you are thinking about shipping your bike alone, you would also look at these 2,000 euros. Of course, depending on the distance you plan to ship it and also how long you plan to store the bike at the harbor before you arrive by yourself. So around 2,000 euros. Hopefully we have not picked the bikes up yet. The bikes are still on sea and we are waiting, and we will get there and meet them the 27th of April. So it's very exciting. I will make another video I'll put up here somewhere where we unpack the bikes and get going from the Klang Harbour in Malaysia. When we pick up our bikes in Malaysia, we will start our trip back home to Denmark. This is not our first trip on motorbikes, of course, but it is by far our biggest trip so far. Doing our preparations for this big trip, I have gone through all our others, smaller trips, but also fairly long trips, and I have been thinking about what we did good and what we did wrong. In this video, I'm breaking down a few things which I really wish I knew before I started traveling my motorbike. See you there.